Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Following the Light. This is a series that I'm going to be doing. My name is Steve Haynes. I've been a photographer for close to 30 years, and we're going to kind of be showing you how we do some edits. We're going to give you some tips and tricks for working in a studio, working on location. Just whatever we can come up with that might be of service to you as far as photography goes. If you've got any questions, put them in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer them if I can. We're also gonna, we're gonna cover any topic that we see that I think might be interesting. Whether we may have somebody on here that has an interesting story that may or may not be about photography. It just may be an interesting story that I thought would be interesting to tell. So, who knows what it's going to be. Today, it's going to kind of be a twofer today. I'm going to give you one of my tips for kind of making people relax in the studio, and kind of a life tip too. As I say, my videos are like a buffet. Take what you want, leave the rest, and I hope it helps. But like I say, I've been doing this for 30 years, and it's kind of funny to me that when people get in front of the camera in your studio, it's like, deer in the headlight look, and it's because they're self-conscious. They don't know what to do. They don't want to do something to make themselves look foolish or whatever. So to you, what I'm saying is relax. That's what the photographer's there for. Listen to him or her. They're going to get you through it, and you're going to look great. Okay? So just relax. But one of the tips that I use in photography is when they come into the studio. All of our studios, we either have chairs or we have couches in the studios that I've worked in, and I will bring them in to the studio, and I will tell them, I'm not quite ready for you yet. I still got to set this up on the computer. I'm running a little behind. Please go have a seat over here on the couch or in one of these chairs. There's some coffee over here. If we've got donuts in there that day or whatever, I'll tell them, hey, please eat some donuts. Please eat a lot of donuts. The more you eat, the less I will, just kind of make them laugh, kind of make them feel at ease, and let them sit down, drink a cup of coffee, whatever, because the way I schedule my shoots, I've got time to do that. Okay, I've got that time. And usually I'll take just a couple of minutes, And while they're sitting over there doing that, I'm watching how they're sitting naturally. They're not in front of a camera. They're not trying to sit they're just being themselves. So I take my cues from that when they get in front of the camera of kind of how to help them sit in front of the camera, because what I try to capture as a photographer when I'm doing the portraits, it's not just a likeness of the person. I'm trying to capture their personality. And I always say, how am I capturing their personality if I am telling them exactly how to sit? Turn to the right, tilt your head back this way, put your hand here, move your other hand here, put your right foot this way, your left foot that way, tilt your head a little more that way, look this way, click. How is that them? That's them doing exactly what I'm telling them to do. So that's not their personality. I want them to sit. I want them to kind of be themselves. And I'm going to capture that portrait. Okay? And I want it to be not only a likeness of them, I want it to capture their personality. And by watching a person sit naturally and do like that, that kind of helps me know how to help that happen. So maybe you can come up with something like that in your studio and just kind of watch a person and see how they react naturally, and then try to incorporate that into your photo session. Part 2. Something else that I've noticed over the years in photography is another type of animosity, another type of nervousness or anxiety or whatever you want to call it with, is when it's between two parties in in the session, in the photo session. And I'm not talking about like the parents and the kids. That's there a lot. Kids don't want anything to do with going and having that. They want to be out riding their bike, whatever. They don't want to they don't want to be in a photo studio. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about between 18 and above. You know what I'm saying? To where that's not the issue. There's an issue between the two people. They're not getting along for some reason. I try to break that up. I try to make them laugh. I try to do that. It's none of my business what's going on there. It isn't. It's none of my business. I don't try to find out what's going on. I just try to make people laugh and try to get my shots that way, because if there's a conflict there, it's going to show in the photos. Okay. And I say all that to say this, life is too short, people. Life is too short to hold the animosity, the anger, I don't know what you would call it, inside. Let it go. Let it go. I mean, the world that we live in today, we've got enough to be upset about. We don't need something that we can get rid of. You know what I'm saying? My faith is very important to me, and I read a lot in the Bible, and there's a book in the Bible called Obadiah. It's the shortest book in the Bible. It's one chapter, but I think in the whole, it's one of the most important books in the Bible, because it talks about this very specific thing, holding a grudge, holding that anger towards someone. And its point is, you do that, eventually it's going to come back on you. And it will, because when you're angry and you're upset, your blood pressure is going to be higher. You're not going to be in a good mood. People around you is going to know that. They're not going to want to be around you, or they may get in a bad mood because of you having to deal with you. So, in the long run, it's just not worth it. I always say, forgive and forget. If you can't forget, just forgive and move on. Move on. Life is too short to hold anger and animosity inside, because it can affect your health. Quite literally, it can affect your health, not to mention those around you. And life is too short not to enjoy. We've got enough things to going on that holding anger towards someone, even if they did something to you, forgive and forget and move on. If you can't forget it, just forgive them and move on, because life is too short to hold that inside. Okay? That's just a tip. And that's about all we've got for you today. But bringing people into the studio and then doing like I told you, and watching their natural, just how they naturally sit when they're not in front of the camera, it really does help you, or it does me, pose them in such a way that they look natural, they look comfortable and natural. And hang on to the end of this video. One of the takes that we did earlier, I noticed something in the monitor, and it kind of got my goat. So it's kind of funny. And something else that I didn't know until after we already did that was my mic wasn't even turned on. So we could have done the whole thing and not had anything anyway. But there's going to be an outtake at the end. And even though you can't hear me, you're going to see what got my goat in the monitor. And it is kind of funny. So, or at least it was to me, as you can see. So stay tuned for that. And again, my friends, thank you for watching. Take care of yourselves, and God bless.